Before we begin, thank you very much to Leave Demolisher Alone. He is my horrible two-wheeled son for joining the Patreon campaign. Look, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. You're really obviously not controlling your son or raising him very well because he turned out to be pretty horrible at his job and what he was supposed to do. I'm sorry. I will never stop picking on that toy. It is the two-wheeled Ferris wheel of doom. It's never going to appeal to me. But thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you for supporting the channel. I am still very low on shoutouts. Tomorrow I will be completely caught up on the shoutouts. We've been going for close to 9.5 months, which is absolutely insane. We could have a shoutout baby together. That's incredible. So thank you very much. If tomorrow is the end of it, it's been fun. And I'm sure you people will still throw crazy things for me to shout out at the beginning of the videos. But you're the ones who started the streak. You're the ones who had fun with it and keeping me going and saying this relentlessly. So if you want to continue, it's entirely up to you. All right, so let us talk. We are going to do another tier list. Welcome to the most morbid tier list you have ever seen on a Transformers channel. We are going to be ranking the deaths of Optimus Prime. Now, there are a lot of them. I have kept it to the major ones, and I have kept it to the ones that are in the most significant media. So, keep in mind, there's a lot of micro-universes when it comes to Transformers. Optimus has died in most of them. And there's also a lot of times where he almost died, technically died, but didn't actually die. So, we can't really count all of them. So we're less than 20. I didn't want it to be a like extremely long tier list this time, but we are going to go through the pile here and just figure out how they went. And we have our traditional levels once again: Holy Grail, Premium Price, Retail, Release, Bargain Bin, and Flea Market, depending on how good they were. So we are starting with the end of IDW 1.0 and the defeat of Unicron, where Optimus dives into the black hole in the center of the beast, meets Unicron's creator, and defeats him with the same tactics as a Care Bear. I'm sorry, I don't like Unicron as just Engine of Vengeance. I like Unicron to be like this mysterious engine of chaos, more a force of nature than just a really big robot. So I do not like the depiction of Unicron in IDW 1.0. I think it's one of the failings of their storytelling. And I really do not like this. You're telling me through all the wars with Primus, the entire creation of the Transformers race in order to combat and defend against Unicron's evil, who knows, countless planets devoured by Unicron and, centuries of tormenting the Transformers. All we had to do was hug him? Flea Market. I mean, it's self-sacrificial, so as an Optimus death goes, that's pretty standard. And okay, he chooses compassion rather than combat, but oh my god, it's such a lame way of finishing off Unicron. It undermines it so much. Oh my god. Okay, next up we have his first death from the Marvel Comics. We have a few of those on the list. In hindsight, guess what? I'm actually going to go and bump this up to Bargain Bin, because at least when Optimus Prime defeated IDW Unicron, he knew it was self-sacrificial. He was being very brave into jumping into the center of this beast, which was a literal black hole, in an effort to actually stop it from within. Okay, you got something there. I will give you that one. Now we're dealing with maybe the dumbest of the deaths of all. This really should have come toward the end of the list. So, Optimus Prime wins a battle with Megatron in cyberspace when both are plugged into a video game, but Optimus Prime had to go against his beliefs in order to win, so he self-destructs himself. Optimus Prime blew himself up because he cheated at a video game. You realize we would cut the Fortnite Fortnite player base in half if that was a real thing. So, this is not only the dumbest of all the deaths, there's no self-sacrifice to it. There's no, heroic build-up to the moment. Literally just Optimus Prime decided, nope, I'm out. I can't live with the fact that I cheated at a video game. Boom. Flea market. One of the worst. The worst, probably. The last one in the Marvel comic run was how he went out in Generation 2. This is not only self-sacrificial, it was a gamble to do it, because what he did was he allowed the swarm, the thing that eats Transformers alive bit by bit, to devour him all the way to the core until they cracked the Matrix itself, in order to impart its wisdom into the swarm and purify them. It's a horrific death. It might be the most horrific death an Optimus Prime has ever gone through. He's literally eaten alive tiny bit by tiny bit. And we get his inner monologue as it's happening, and the constant progression of this. It's horrifying. The death was momentary because the swarm did revive him and bring him back, but it doesn't undercut just how extreme it is, or just how much of a heroic stance this was. Because he had an out. He actually had an out and didn't take it in order to take this risk and save the Earth. I really like this one. It's really, really solid. So premium price, and we might go up from there. Machinima. Again, another death that was undone. Most of these deaths were undone, by the way. Megatronus just straight up showing how powerful he is by one-shotting Optimus Prime straight through the chest. It's really not about it's not some heroic sacrifice. There's no build-up to it. And the heroes did not win the day because of Optimus's actions. It was literally just a show of power, so you could see how strong Megatronus was and how threatening he was as a villain, that he can one-shot even Optimus Prime. So it serves a purpose in the story, but as a heroic death, it's not that grandiose. It's really sudden, so there's a shock to it, but it's not very well built up either, because it's going for shock, obviously. For just the surprise of it and establishing Megatronus, I will put it in the middle, but it's not that great of a death. It really is a death, mostly for the sake of making Megatron the main character in the third season. That's basically what it boiled down to. Transformers Prime. Okay, so yeah, this is another Optimus Prime self-sacrifice to free a lot of the sparks of Cybertron and to basically reignite the planet using his own spark. I'm a little bit fadey on this, but I also believe there's an element here of trying to contain what's left of Unicron as well in this. So it is very much done purely for the sacrifice of the entire planet. Things like this are a little bit weird, because I kind of want the hero to save the day. At this point, the day is saved. Unicron's defeated. Megatron has declared the Decepticons done, so the war is done. Starscream's getting pummeled by Predaking. So really, the only thing he had to do here was just reignite the planet, which is where we get the taste the rainbow moment. So it's not bad. It's not bad. It just kind of feels like one of those things that's written just to have a little bit of a bittersweet tone to the ending, which, okay, Prime is on the darker side, so that kind of works, but it's not really my favorite. I'll put it up in the middle, because at the very least, the sacrifice is very noble. The sacrifice is very noble. I will give it that. So I decided to include all Optimi in this list. So we're also going to be talking about Beast Wars and Beast Machines Optimus deaths. And that begins with his very first one. And that happened at the end of season 1, where he got trapped in the stasis pod that was flying out to the Planet Buster. And thanks to Megatron reprogramming it, originally trying to kill Tarantulas with this plan, he now gets to kill Optimus Primal with this plan. And Primal goes up in a transwarp explosion, complete with his face flying, his dismembered face flying into the camera. Great moment. So there's a big amount of he meant to jump out, but there's still a huge heroic moment here, and still that heroic risk taking. So well and good, super cool. And I do like that. But the twist of it, this is again, Beast Wars Megatron being a genius. It's always 2 steps ahead of everybody else. He knew, he anticipated that this is what the spiders would be up to. The fact that Optimus was the one who got trapped in it was even better for him. And it was just master stroke by Megatron. He won. Megatron won. This is a Predacon win day. And it's such a twist moment. It's such a way of going out on season 1. I'm putting it up to Holy Grail because as shock moments go, not only is it a shock moment, it's one that was properly built up. And then it's also showing how smart and ingenious Megatron is. And it's ending the season on a huge cliffhanger. Hits so many points perfectly. Beast Wars is really well written, people. Beast Wars is really well written. Transformers Armada. Okay. Optimus Prime gets hit with the Hydra Cannon. He again, it's self-sacrificing because he threw himself in the way to defend Earth from the blast. And this is to this point the most gruesome we've seen in animation for an Optimus Prime death, because he turned gray. So he did the traditional thing. He turned gray, but then he started to crack, and then he shattered. It's not like G1 where it's like, well, his body's still intact, so the Quintessons rebuilt him a few episodes later, and then we had the Quintessons properly revive him later on because he's still all there. No. Optimus shattered into like thousands of fragments. This was extreme. This was extreme for an Optimus death. It lasted a whole 3 episodes, by the way, which I'm actually kind of shocked any Transformer series managed to go 3 episodes without its leader. Granted, Beast Wars did it too, but that was only the 2nd time out for Transformers cartoons. This is the 4th time in America. So it's technically 5 if we make Beast Machines a 2nd series. You get my point. This was a little bit daring. There's a little bit of daring to this. I wish it lasted longer than 3 episodes, but I'll take what I could get. No, I'm putting it up to premium. I don't think I liked it as much as The Swarm, but it's a really effective one. And the visual of it is really, like, if you were an Armada kid, this was a haunting visual. So really well done there. For a show that's not very well written at times, they did that one pretty well. Okay. I can even remember what this... Oh, okay, I will admit, this one is very hard to see. I apologize for that. This is Optimus Primal's first death in Beast Machines at the beginning of Season 2. So, he sacrifices himself in order to stop the clash between the plasma energy chamber and the key to Vector Sigma. He puts all of his life force and energy into calming down the blast of that. And when all the Maximals wake up, he's just dust on the ground. But because the animation in Beast Machines is so bad and so budgeted, it doesn't look like he's dust on the ground and disintegrated. It just looks like he's flat. He looks like Wile E. Coyote got hit by an anvil or a steamroller. He looks like he's a deflated party balloon. He looks like someone in a gorilla suit got raptured. It's the most hilarious death an Optimus has ever had, completely unintentionally, just because the visual is so bad. It's not a good death, by the way. I'm gonna point that out. It's not a very good death. There's a self-sacrifice moment to it, but it gets undone in that exact same episode, and it's just not that impactful, ultimately. But for hilarity, I will still put it up in the middle rank. I'll still put it up in retail release, because I get enjoyment out of it that they did not intend. All right, we got to go Japanese G1 for the next one. This is from Headmasters, the Double Convoy episode, where Rodimus and Optimus actually coexisted for a brief moment to stop Galvatron. Now, the scheme did set off Vector Sigma, so in order to rebalance the system and keep it from going off, Optimus Prime sacrifices himself by basically turning himself into a key to Vector Sigma to turn the entire supercomputer off, which, in order to do that, cost him his entire spark. So, yeah, he falls over, he dies in Rodimus Prime's arms, he properly turns gray, and as far as the Japanese G1 continuity goes, that is the actual death of Optimus Prime. Until Battlestars came up with Star Convoy, and that's a whole thing, and then all the Legends comics that kind of give, like, Optimus Prime is alive for 7 days. Remember how I said there's a whole bunch of micro-universes where I can't cover literally every death? Like, there's a whole run of comics that happens between this episode and Battlestars and Return of Convoy that explain other ways Optimus Prime came back to life. At one time, it was literally Galvatron's cells that brought him back to life for a little bit, and then he died again. Basically, Weekend at Bernie's Optimus Prime throughout this entire fiction until we get to Star Convoy. But no, it's not nearly as impactful as the movie one. It's just kind of there. It's a noble sacrifice moment, but it just kind of feels very like, oh, okay. It's a little bit like, but lame goes to the first time he was shown dying in Headmasters. So remember, Japan did not get the 86 movie until years later. So when they went from season 3 to Headmasters, they had to explain how Optimus Prime died in the first place between season 2 and 3, why Rodimus Prime was a thing, and why the return of Optimus Prime at the end of season 3 happened. So in a weird flashback sequence, they show a whole row of season 1 and 2 Autobots on Earth, just in a normal shootout with the Decepticons. Presumably, they only showed one half of the fight. But Optimus Prime is in the main shot of the frame. He takes one shot to the midsection, turns gray, and that's it. That's the whole flashback. Meanwhile, the Autobots in the back just keep firing. They do not seem to notice that their commander of 9 million years just went down to a single shot. No. It's the most cut, paste, hurry up, get it over with kind of moment. It's easily the worst. It is easily the worst of all Optimus Prime deaths. No impact, very much just glossed over. No heroic sacrifice, no nothing. Yeah, it's there to serve a purpose. That's it. Dark Awakening, where, yeah, Optimus was revived as a zombie and then through sheer force of will manages to regain control of himself despite the Quintesson reprogramming, and again sacrificed himself to save the Autobots that day. It's a rough one because Optimus is very much in zombie mode. He spends the entire episode very battle damaged. And by the time we see him at the end of the episode where he's regained control, he's literally falling apart. His inner eye is exposed, one arm's fallen off, but he's still trying to pilot this ship away to save the Autobots that episode. So it's a kind of a mid-level. It's not great as a death. We don't even see him die. We just come back to him during the return of Optimus Prime, and somehow magically he's repaired again. He's completely intact when his body is found. We don't explain these things. We just watch the show. It's it's mid-level. It's mid-level. I don't really get enjoyment out of it like I do the deflated Primal, but it's definitely better than anything in the bargain bin. So we're going to put a low retail release. Okay, here is a sacrifice against Unicron. So remember, when they did Unicron movie, they didn't have Rodimus Prime in the comic, so Optimus Prime did the honors of unleashing the Matrix inside Unicron. But he's actually caught in the same blast of energy, so he is in rough shape. This is a brutal way of dying. Now, this is Power Master Optimus Prime, so this is like the beefier, stronger Optimus. And he does technically survive because his mind lives on in High Q, his Power Master. So there is an element of that's how Optimus Prime escapes death again. So we can have him back before the end of the series. But the moment is really shocking. Aside from just noble sacrifice, defeats Unicron, unleashes Matrix, and all that, The state he comes back in is just ravaged. His face is gone. He's extraordinarily damaged. He doesn't have a mouth. He has a speaker that is barely working to get his last words out, which is to have Prowl talk some sense into Grimlock, who's now going to have to take up command. It's a really rough, brutal death, and it's a very, very good one. Heroic sacrifice, well built up, gnarly visuals. Okay. Transformers Prime. So he turned gray, so I'm counting it. Optimus. This is the one. This is where we get this whole Solus, the Forge of Solus Prime, bringing him back to life and then coming back in his Beast Hunter's body. And we almost had Smokescreen becoming the Rodimus Prime of the series. But no, rejected the Matrix and healed Optimus Prime instead. This one is built up because we see Optimus heavily wounded for a long time, and just the desperation Smokescreen has of trying to keep him online and trying to reassure him until they have a way out. It's rough. It's a really rough one because it's one that goes slow. It takes its time before it builds up to the moment where Optimus Prime shuts down and turns gray. So there's a unique atmosphere to this. It doesn't last very long. By the end, Prime is literally revived in a whole new body right after this. So it's not a long-lasting death, but because of that element of suspense and drawing it out, it feels different. It feels different enough for me to put it just behind his actual sacrifice at the end of Prime. Even though it's short-lived, there's an aspect to it that I can really respect them going for. Revenge of the Fallen. This was brutal. So this was Grindor, Starscream, and Megatron having to triple team Optimus Prime in order to actually kill him, with Megatron doing the honors. Stab through the back and then a blast through the back. That's your Optimus Prime. It's another brutal one. And because it's a Michael Bay movie, there's shrapnel flying everywhere, the damage is extreme, the body goes ragdoll. It's rough. It's rough looking. By the end of the movie, he's Deus Ex'd back into life. It's really just a way of writing him out of the middle section of the movie so he can make that heroic charge at the end. So it's, that would become standard formula. That would become standard formula for that franchise. But here, it was actually, there is actual, shock to it. Because Optimus Prime is heavily outnumbered. He manages to kill Grindor, but numbers eventually beat him in the end. You knew he'd come back. You knew he'd come back by the end of the movie because we already knew that the toys for Optimus and Jetfire combining were coming out. So there's no surprise to it. But it's a brutal death. It's a brutal death, and trying to go out a hero. It's not fantastic. I'll put it at the top of bargain bin for now. But I might just be doing that because it's Revenge of the Fallen. I hate Revenge of the Fallen. But no, again, it just kind of because he's not saving the world by doing this. It's just literally he just lost a battle and then got stabbed. It doesn't feel properly built. It's a little underwhelming. Beast Wars. Beast Wars Megatron frying Optimus Prime's head to change the future. Now, I will preface this with the fact that in Beast Wars, this did not kill Optimus Prime. But there is fiction where it did. That's Beast Wars Uprising. And again, just for sheer shock moments, I'm going to include this one because the fact that a Megatron actually managed to do this to an Optimus Prime is staggering and super impressive. So I'm going to count it. I'm going to count it for now and just say, I'm going to put it up here. Now, remember, technically not a death, so I'm not going to holy grail it like the other Beast Wars Optimus Primal death, but I am going to give it credit. I'm going to give it credit for just being an incredibly cool moment. And it did give us an interesting alternate universe fiction when, he actually did die from this attack. So I'm going to give it credit for that. It's ballsy is what it is. Animated. Okay, I don't think there's any question to this one. This one has, like, heroic moment for Optimus Prime, completely undone because Sorry revives him almost immediately. So we don't really have, you know, like a huge thing here. So I'm not going to put it high. I am going to put it low bargain bin, if only because it's very short. And you knew, and this was the end of the intro for Transformers Prime, or Transformers Animated. You knew it wasn't going to last. You knew that, like, there was no chance that they were actually doing this. So it's, you know, just to get it, I'm putting it, I would put it lower. I would put it lower, but there is heroic last stand vibes to it. And I think it's hilarious that in Animated's first episodes, they just got it out of the way. Just like, we killed our Optimus Prime to start the show, and then we move on from there. So I kind of respect it for doing that, but, you know, not very impactful when it's undone a minute later. And then we get to Beast Machines, the finale, Optimus Primal pushing Megatron into the core of Cybertron, reformatting the planet, wiping them both out of existence, and saving the world. I mean, heroic sacrifice, yes, because because it's not just like a last stand. He is voluntarily sacrificing himself in order to defeat Megatron and save the planet. One of the most nonsensical deaths, because you have to remember, Megatron does not remember that he can fly. And don't tell me the shaft wasn't big enough for him to fall into. Look at some of the shots. It was massive. He's an ant compared to the size of that hole. He absolutely could have flown out. That's not a question. Optimus Primal can also fly, and yet chose not to. So that also did not make sense. There's no logic to why these two hitting the core of Cybertron somehow, A, kills them, because the organic goop never killed any of them before, and it does not explain why this reformats the entire planet and revives all the sparks at the same time. It's completely nonsensical. And you have to account on everyone being dumb in order to forget all these convenient things that would have saved their lives or kept the fight going, etc. And you have to kind of hand wave away the part where he didn't explain how any of this reformatting stuff works. It just does. And it just does is the worst way of explaining anything. I don't think it's as dumb as Optimus Prime self-sacrifices after losing a video game, but it's definitely not a great one. So, looking this over and seeing what we got here, I am going to bump the finale of Transformers Prime up to premium price, and I'm going to bump the G2 one up to Holy Grail, kind of to even us out, but also like grading these on that curve, that's a little bit closer to how I feel. You know, sometimes you have to see the entire thing on the grid before you can really go, yeah, that feels right. So, that is all of the Optimus Prime deaths that I have for you today. And here's the whole part about the video I've been waiting this last half hour to say. Please, in the comments below, tell me your favorite death of Optimus Prime. Which, as it occurs to me, having all of these here, you know, the one that I absolutely forgot was the original. It's the 86 movie one. Why did I was so focused on getting all the obscure ones that I could have accidentally overlooked. I managed to overlook the original, and I know someone in the comments section has already called me on it. Just suffice to say, it's top. It's top of the Holy Grail. It's heroic last stand. It's tear-jerking, made children cry, established a lore for the rest of Transformers history. Yes. It's the top of the original death of Optimus Prime is top of the Holy Grail. I'll Photoshop the picture in just so you can see that it's in that row. But that said, let me know what your favorite Optimus Prime death was. And thank you for watching. I will see you next time.
I'm like, I think you guys got this. I will back away, and I will see you all later.
You've got this handled.
Optimus like, really? You're not gonna help me? Like, it's fine now.
It's like these disgusting creatures breathing down my neck, and you're all just like, I believe in you. You got this.
All right, you seem to have this. 5 minutes.